All right. So earlier the first point we talk about is the component, right? What is JSX? Okay, that is fine. That, when you're writing nextjs file, right? When you create nextjs file or any component, okay, that is JSX. You just remember this one, right? It's nothing but the HTML and JavaScript together, right, in one page. Okay, so there is JavaScript and something extra, right, inside JavaScript, that is HTML. So that is called JSX, JavaScript extension, right? So component, how we create component, right? That is the first one. React is all about component, right? So what I did, I created the about page, correct? This is a page, right? When you to add any page or any route, basically we're going to talk about route tomorrow, but we just focus on component, right? This is component, okay? This is component, right? And let's see. So what I will do, right, I'm gonna add one folder here inside the app, or maybe outside, does not matter, right? Like in the main project here, I'm gonna create a folder called components, right? Components. So if that is not route, for example, I'm not creating any route, right, for about page or maybe contact page, right? Contact. So localhost 3000 / contact. If I have page here, right, then that is contact page. Okay, so I can create one component called contact, right? Maybe you're thinking how I'm getting that shortcut, right? You just have to install few things in your Visual Studio. Also just now. So I will just call it contact page, right? Component. This is a component, okay? Function and return HTML here, right? So let's create one component. I mean, this is all component, right? But this is a page. This is a route, right? But let's say you want to create a button component, correct? Button. So I'll just go here, right, inside my components, and I'll just call it button.js like this. Okay. So the requirement for component, right? What are the requirements? Okay. So before, right, you guys can install this extension, React. Let's call it React. Just install this, right? ES7 React Redux Native, right? In your extension, install that one, and it should work, right? If you have this one, then you can get that shortcut. Okay, so that is all you need to add, basically install, right? So you just have to go to your extension icon here, search React, and look at this ES7 plus React Redux React Native snippet, right? Just install that. All right, I will close this. So the button component, this is the button.js file. Import. Basically, you don't have to do, right, but you can import. It's okay. So it says React is declared, but its value never used, right? Even you don't import, it's okay. Does not matter, right? So the thing is, you have to create a function like this button, right? Must be capital name. Okay, that's it. Now you have a function, right, like this button, and then x return. You just return JSX, right? So return, and this is a return function like this. So what you have to do is just put the div, the fragment, right? Either you can use fragment, or even you can just return one. If you have only one line of HTML, like this is a button tag, right? Button. Remember how you write HTML button like this. See, click here, right? See that? That's the button. So to create a component in order to create a component, you write a function and return HTML. If you have more than one HTML, right? Like let's say I have heading one here, so my auto detection is not working, right? So this is heading one, right? If I have more than 2 line of HTML, then I must put in the fragment like this. Either you put in a fragment, right, like this, or you can wrap in any box element, like for example div always, right? Just put in the div like this, right? Div. See, that's it. So this means you just returning one HTML, only one HTML, right? That is what you are doing. But in our case, we are creating a button, so let's stick to the button, right? Done. If you have only one HTML, then you don't need this one. You don't have to, I mean, you can leave it, it's okay. If you don't, does not matter, right? Because components returns one element, that's it. So you have to now, right? The first one is export. So you can call it export default and the name of the component button. Done. Now you want to use this somewhere, so you can go back. Let's go to the main page, right? So I will close all this contact. I don't need ignore. Oh, I close everything, right? So I will just go to my main page, which is inside the app page right here, and I'm going to import now, right? Import button. So see at the rate slash, that is a root, right? Root file. Like this is the root project root. This is a root, right? At the rate slash will bring you here, and slash component and slash button. So you import that button now, right? Now I'm just going to use it here. So look at here. This is like a now HTML, right? Exact HTML. You can just use it something like this. That's it. So that is the component. This is a component now. That's how you create a component. So I will run the code now. Npm run dev. Okay, so I'm in the wrong place, right? So I have to go cd, most likely where I'm cd 6, right? I believe 6 front India, and then cd 1 maybe, right? React Next.js, and then cd 1 again there, and then I'm gonna run npm run dev. So it will run this code, right? Basically the local development server is running. I can click here and open mine. So it's complaining something. I don't know why this error coming, right? But let's see if we click here. Look at the button right here. Click here is here, but it does not have any style, right? See that? No style yet. This is the raw HTML. So if I'm using, let's say if I'm using tailwind, because I have tailwind, right? I can style that easily, very easy, right? But we are not, we have not learned yet tailwind. So what we will do, I'm just gonna go to the, so all the code will be, right? Your main code is here, 3 files, remember that. Layout, page, and uh where is the global CSS, right? So here I can just give the button here and add same thing now. Padding, maybe top and bottom 12 pixel, left and right 24 pixel. I'll just make it big, right? Background color, I will make it maybe aqua, and then border radius 33 pixel, and that's it. And refresh, and look at that. So that is my button. See? So the benefit of component, you just create one time and you can use it many times, right? Now I can, I can use this 100 times, does not matter. Just create one time and use it many times. So I just go back here, component, button like that. I can call it in other page also, and refresh. Look at that, all button. button is inline element, we know that, right? Or you want to add some gap and all that, then I can put here div, right? Let's add a div box and put all the button inside the div. You can like normal HTML, nothing else, right? So I'm going to write some CSS here, right? So you have to give a class name. Remember, in HTML we had just class, right? Class like this, but in React you put class name. Why? Because in JavaScript there is something called class already, the keyword, right? So you cannot use that. So they come up with the class name like this. So I can call it flex and gap of maybe flex row, right? Not row, just make it call, and gap of maybe 4, the just normal CSS. And look at that. So they just make it one row, right? I make it row, okay? And when you make row, right, flex any element, it will expand all the way from left to right. It become like a block element, okay? So it expand, right? So you have to make it uh, display, or just make it inline block, inline block, right? See what happens. Save. Okay, it will complain because of the flex and inline, they are the same property, right? So you cannot make it. How you gonna just give a width, width of maybe, oh sorry guys, I have to define here, not that one, right? This button I have to give a width. So what we can do, go to the here and give a width of maybe how much, like, you know 50 pixel, and see what happens. So they just become 50 pixel, width is small, right? So let's make it 150. So it looks something like this, okay? But in a flex block, inline element will also, when you make it flex, it will grow all the way, right? But it's okay, we're going to learn CSS in Tailwind, right, later, not now. We understand component is just a function and returning HTML. Once you create a component, you can use it many times, right? That is all is a component. Okay, the next thing what we learned earlier, right, was what is props and state. Okay, so I will create one more component, simple component, right? So I will just create a component called maybe user, right? Let's do that. So in the component folder, here I create user.js. Again, React arrow function, create export, and it will give me the arrow function with return div like this, right? You just have to change to capital user if you want to make a component, right? Make it capital U, okay? You can give any name, right? So here I'm gonna have h1. I have to fix, my auto completion is not working, and I will call it maybe, let's call it name, right? Name, okay? And then paragraph p tag, right? And give it maybe description, right? DESC, or just make it small, small. Let's say age. Let's display age, right? Little bit text, not too much, okay? Age. So this is the two things, name and age here. These are like a variable, right? So how you gonna get this information? So that is something called props, right? Props, okay? And what is props? I will just tell you now. This is props is an object, right? Props, and this props gonna have name and age, okay? So you have to destructure this, right? How you gonna destructure this? Remember, if you have object, you can destructure, like call it name and age equal to props. Good. So my component is ready, right? I just have to change here to capital U. You must make it like that, right? Now I have name and age. This props, right? Basically, my component, this user components needs two things, name and age, when I'm going to use. And look at here. I will go to the main page again, right? I will delete all this, no need for now. Button, I'll just keep one button. Remove this also, right? Let's no need this for now. I'll just keep it simple like this. So I'm going to import user, right? And here just call the user now. User, right? user component like this, and save, right? And see what happened. What will be the problem? See, right now there is no error, right? If we are using TypeScript, it will give you the error that in this component you have to send the two data called name and age, right? So let's see if there is error or not. Nothing, right? We get nothing. Look at here, we get nothing, right? Because we did not pass any data yet. So this is called props. Remember, in HTML you have attribute, same thing. Name equal to John Welker, and there is age, right, equal to maybe 40, like this. You can send the number. Okay, so you cannot send number. If you have number, you must put it like this, 40, right? Okay, either you send the string or maybe something like this in the bracket, right? So now look at here, John Welker and 40. See that? You get that information, right? Printed. So what is the let's say, what is the benefit of having props? You can send the data to the component, right? You have hundreds of name and age to be printed, so you can call user name. This time name is maybe, what the name will be, right? Anything. Dev, and age is 45. So because you can use component, now you have, look at here, Dev and 45. Look at that, right? Already it's in the corner, but you can see, right? I mean, I can add something. Let's add here class and mx margin left and right, maybe 25, right? So it will just shift a little bit on the, there is a margin on the left and right. You can see now, right? Look at there. If I want again, and call this and pass new value, so will be the pace maybe 20, right? So you're gonna get new component, the pace and 20. Look at that. So this is props, right? You have one component, you just change the props, and that component will read that props, right? Prompter, the maybe somebody reading the news, looking at the prompter, props, right? Same thing. Component, you pass the value, and that's how the props work. Okay. The next one is state, right? State. What is state now? So I'll just create here a simple variable, right? So let a const maybe count, right? Count equal to 50, right? And you can have a let's call it s2, right? And here you can display the count. See, you can display the count, right? Like this. See that? And here you have 50, right? You have 50 here. So this is called state, right? This is called state, and we can change this value. Okay, we can change the state value, right? So it's just a variable, right? State is just a variable, and you can change. We have to define something, right? Maybe how you gonna change the value? Maybe let's say you have button, right? Let's add a button here, and this is the increase, right? Increase. Okay, so we have an increase button, right? Sorry guys, I have a visitor here. Okay, increase. We have an increase, and then when you click this button, right, it should increase. So let's look at the increase button and how we can increase the number, right, to this count. Okay, so when you click this button, we're gonna have a basically function, right, to run and increase that. How are we gonna do that? So again, we have to we have to learn about this hooks in React, and that will be different topic, right? So I think better just leave it. That will be totally different thing again, and I don't want to confuse you guys, right? But hooks is something, right? A function, built-in function inside the React. Okay, use state. I will show you just quickly, and what gonna happen, right? You're gonna see. This will be separate class, okay, for all the hooks, right? Cons, for example, you don't have to create variable now like this. Use state function, right? Use state function gonna give you initial value is 0 here. Okay, so that will be count and set count. This is a count that is 0 right now. Const count equal to 0. Now you're gonna set the count, right, like this, and every time count increase, the value here change, right? So set count. So I'm going to write one function, right? Not fun, let's call it const, or maybe I can write inline here, okay, just to make it easy for now. So you're going to click the button, and remember button has unclick event, right? So you're going to have this callback function and set count equal to count plus 1. So now, right, look at here. When you click every time this button, the count will change, and every time count change, this whole components rerun and display everything. Okay, but it's gonna only change this part, right? It has everything already, just gonna change that part every time. So let's do that. Okay, so hooks, right? It is the, what you call that, it's the, you're gonna get the error. It's gonna get error, right? Because user state is only work on the client component. So we're gonna talk about again tomorrow. Everything in Next.js is server component, right? So you have to make it client. How? Use client, right? Now this page become client component, and now we have this increase button, right? And look at here, count is 0 right now, and I'm gonna click this increase button. I'm clicking, right, and count is changing. Look at that. So I can write decrease function, all that, right? So I click, and only this one is changing. I mean, even though I have a that component rerunning, right, but nothing is refreshed. Okay, this page is not like rerunning, refresh, right? Remember in the Facebook, you scroll, it's just popping up, right, from the bottom. Same thing happen here. Okay, it's just changing here, right? But the page is not reloading. No, only this component is, this part is only changing. So that is state, right? State is something variable in React which handles our data. Basically, with state we can manage our data. Okay, and we're gonna have a lot about state in the future, right? We're gonna have to talk a lot. E-commerce site, right? You have a cart. Remember the shopping cart? You're gonna add the product. You're gonna increase the quantity, decrease the quantity. You're gonna calculate the total amount. All that is handled with state. So we're gonna learn about the new maybe library, some library for state management. This is for just one item, right? But we have to get the library and how you're gonna manage the whole state of our, uh, project, right, or program or whatever website. Okay, that is state. Just remember state. Now you get the props and state, right? State is to manage the data, and props is to pass the value. So that is all right. And what was the next topic here? So let's see. We understand that. We understand state. Yeah. So create a nest component. What is nesting, right? Nesting is basically, like you have one component and then you add another component inside, right? So that is nesting. That is all. I mean, CSS styling, that is okay. Displaying data, right? So you can have data and you can just loop through and display, right? For example, you can have list of student or something, Displaying data is same like, remember the to do app, you have all the to do's and you map through and then display exact same thing. So, and conditional rendering and all that. So let's do one thing, right? You guys can just practice what I have done right now. Create components, couple of components, maybe button, display in the page, and read through all this, right? Just try that, and tomorrow we're going to start our Next.js class. Okay, so once you know what is component, uh, the state and the props, right? That will be okay to learn to move to the Next.js course. Okay, because we are learning Next.js, right? So, but before that, I just want to update you with the components and props and state and how you're going to create components and all that, right? So as long as that is clear, then tomorrow we just start the Next.js course, which will be routing, data fetching, rendering, caching, styling, all that, right? We're going to do a couple of things here from here. Basically, Next.js topic, right? So that's what we're going to do. Any question, guys? But today, just understand, right? What is component? Okay, just get clear what is component and how to create that component. Okay, you're going to research, do whatever, right? But you can watch my video, but just understand what is component. That is all I want you guys to do, right? Just and props. Okay, just figure out props and component, two things. So if you know how to create components and how to import it, right? If you know that much, that is good enough to get to the Next.js, because we're going to learn Next.js first, I told you, but before that we must know what is component at least. That was important. So tomorrow we're going to roll to the Next.js and keep moving, right? But it will be fun. I mean, just take it lightly, right? Component is nothing but the HTML heading one paragraph, but you creating your own HTML now with putting all this everything together, right? Pack it like backpack, okay? Put together and export, and one that export is like a HTML now, right? That is component. So just try, okay? Do your best to figure out. I will stop here and I'll upload the videos. But please, if anyone has any doubt, let me know, right? Even tomorrow morning, now, anytime you can ask me. Right? So stop here.